Morning.
Welcome to the morning show.
Yeah.
The Big Show with Glenn and Angel on Kiss 92.
Good morning.
Sometimes getting out of bed in the morning is a lot to deal with all at once.
It is a good morning. It's nice and, sunny outside. Cloudy. Weather's fantastic. And now we have Megan Tan, the founder and CEO of PupUp, with us in the studio. The day is even better now. Good morning, Megan.
Morning, Glenn.
Good morning, Megan. Okay, Megan, PupUp. Okay, if you want to find out more about them, you can go to their Instagram. It's PupUp HQ. So it's PupUp HQ. You are the founder and CEO of PupUp. Tell us a little bit more about what PupUp is.
Yeah, PupUp is on a mission to transform how families welcome puppies home. We connect owners directly with registered breeders, ensuring transparency, a high level of health standards, and a comprehensive support system that lasts throughout a dog's life. We are mainly tackling the deeply systemic issues in the pet acquisition space in Singapore. So we basically allow, for the first time ever, owners to directly connect with registered breeders and welcome a puppy home to Singapore.
Are we saying there are puppy mills here in Singapore?
100%. Well, okay, you are the expert here. What is the pet acquisition scene like in Singapore?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, unlike more experienced countries like Australia, New Zealand, and the UK, who have experienced breeding communities and also very robust governing systems that ensure that breeders operate within an ethical framework, Singapore, unfortunately, we're still grappling with super fragmented regulations when it comes to what even is ethical breeding. And we also have a huge oversight on breeders and a very heavy reliance on puppy imports. So if you made all these challenges really create for the perfect storm, you've got a heavy reliance on imports, and that means that a huge transparency issue with where exactly is your puppy coming from. And then, owners face preventable health issues, and further heartbreak. So
Right.
I guess for PupUp, like, these issues are deeply systemic. In fact, in 2024, 19 out of the 22 licensed breeding facilities in Singapore were found to have breached rules.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is not really just a few bad apples. It's a very
majority.
it's a very fundamental issue in the Singapore pet acquisition space.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. There's one time I went to an area where there were breeders. I don't think it's there anymore.
Punggol?
It is, no, not Punggol. Is it Pasir Ris?
Pasir Ris.
Pasir Ris
Yes.
Farmway, right?
Yeah, it's called the Animal Lodge.
Oh my God.
What?
It was sad,
Oh, really? I haven't been
Really,
there.
I was just walking through that area, and you can
Yeah.
hear
Yeah.
puppies and dogs barking, and if you go behind and you have a look, and of course they won't let you take photos.
Yeah.
It is just dismal.
So these are
As
puppy mills.
Puppy mills.
Yeah, again, I think with ethics, right? Like, where is the line in the sand? And I guess that's where Singapore really struggles, because, again, like with the regulations, what is ethical? And while some might call them puppy mills, these are actually our licensed breeding facilities in Singapore.
Right.
Wow. Okay. Licensed breeding.
Yeah, and there are people who are going
facilities.
down to these places just to buy puppies.
Yeah, yeah.
I could not buy a puppy under those conditions. There is no way.
But you could buy one from a shop.
I could buy one from a shop. I've
Yeah.
gotten a puppy from the shop before.
Okay.
Luckily for me, it was okay. The puppy was healthy. But I've got friends who have gotten puppies from these shops, and they turned out to not be a pure breed.
Yeah.
Some of them passed away like when they were in their 4th month or something like that because of a virus or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
So yeah.
So yeah, no, I get what you mean with transparency, because you don't know who the parents are. You're only taking their word for it, right? And where they exactly come from.
Right.
Yeah.
And these pups, right? If they're from the same mother who's been
Over and over again. Yeah.
breeding over and over again, then the puppies end up not as healthy in the long run.
Yeah, and I think, like, beyond the purebredness, like whether a dog is purebred or whether the parents, well, I think it really calls into question the health testing portion of breeding dogs. So again, like, we're talking about breeding facilities in Singapore, right? In the 10-pager document that AVIS puts out for licensed breeding facilities, there is not a single clause about any sort of health testing. So I know, Angel, you're familiar with hip testing and testing the knees and heart and eyes. In fact, for golden retrievers, there's a list of 10 tests that breeders have to hit before we onboard them onto PupUp. So in this document, there is not a single clause
About health.
about health testing.
Wow.
So this huge regulatory gap, although it ensures that licensed breeders take care of their dogs, it does not call into question the health aspect and the genetic testing that should be done when breeding dogs.
Yeah, because genetics are so important. So important.
All right, let's continue to talk to Megan on the Big Show TV. Meantime, here's the Kid Leroy with Girls on Kiss 92.
So I know when we were looking for tofu, we did look in Singapore. We did go to a pet store. We saw a couple of golden retriever pups. We did find somebody on Facebook as well who said they bred golden retrievers.
And they're all cute when they're puppies,
oh my
right?
God, they're gorgeous, right?
I've met probably like 200 puppies at this point, and they're all cute.
Yeah, all babies are cute, right? And then we went to somebody else who said he said he bred golden retrievers as well. We went to their house, and the conditions there. I mean, these two dogs were in a room, and in that room there were two big cages, and they were in the cages. And I just looked at them and I said, no, I can't be getting a puppy from here. I don't even know where these dogs come from.
Well, you are better than me because I got my dog off a pet shop advertisement on Facebook. I saw him and decided, you are my dog.
Okay.
And you're going to save him. That kind of thing.
I'm
You bought him.
Yeah, I did buy him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
so I honestly just wanted a dog. I saw him and I knew this is my dog.
Right.
Walked in, bought a dog, went home. And that was when the problem started, right?
What happened?
Yeah, so from the day I brought him home, I've watched him struggle with all sorts of health issues. Yeah, he contracted Giardia from the pet shop, and so that's like he had diarrhea, and we basically were at the vet every day for the week. Yeah, after the week we brought him home. And I think more than the financial impact of having to tend to these health issues, it's really the emotional toll of watching your dog suffer again and again and again, right?
What kind of dog was he? Or is he?
Is he? He's
he?
alive,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Thankfully. No, but he's a mini dachshund.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right, okay.
yeah. So just last year, he was like threatening to go blind on me. Yeah, and so he has an autoimmune eye condition that can be genetically tested for. So
Yeah.
and this had just happened last year. So I think really beyond the financial impact is really the emotional toll, and unfortunately, many families do struggle with the same kind of situations, but it's just the lack of education and awareness in Singapore.
I think a lot of people don't go to, say, Australia or New Zealand to buy dogs because they think it's more expensive. Tofu for us worked out to be cheaper with the flight than the dogs that were being sold here.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's really and the breeder that we bought him from actually breeds therapy dogs.
Oh, cute.
So these are specifically for hospitals and hospices and and old age homes and children's hospitals and what have you, and service dogs as well. So we knew that there was already that lineage of championship bloodline because we were provided with all the certificates and all the testings from the vet and all that. So we felt quite secure that we were getting a dog, because I've gone out for walks and I've seen a lot of other golden retrievers, and dogs that are slightly older than Tofu already have problems with their hips.
Even younger, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, you can see them already sort of
Swaying.
either swaying or their legs are really wide apart or they look like they're having trouble walking, and it's so sad to see.
Yeah, it is.
So sad, yeah.
Thank goodness. I mean, my biscuit.
Yeah.
The thing is, we got him from a store, and I realized at that point, because I have had a number of other Jack Russell Terriers, that he might not be pure.
Oh, right. But you were
Right. That's
told
why
he was
if you look
pure.
at Biscuit, his ears are standing.
Yeah.
He could be there's probably a little bit of a rat terrier in him as well, because
But-
they're all very similar.
But you were told that he is pedigree.
Of course.
Yeah.
They always say that. Mine was too, but he's
You don't
double
think
the
so?
size of a usual duck, like mini ducks.
Oh wow! Okay, so you're
We still love them, though.
Of
We just wanna
course,
say
of
this.
course. Yeah, for sure. But it's deceitful to be sold something that you thought was something else, right? So just want to put it out there. You are advocating for people to buy from ethical breeders. What about adoption? You're not saying don't adopt.
No, absolutely not. I think that, there was a huge push in the early 2000s for adopt, don't shop. But I think, more frequently we're seeing a bigger push for adopt or shop responsibly.
Okay.
Yeah. I think because at the end of the day, all everybody wants is less dogs in shelters, right? And how we can really achieve that is responsible dog ownership. I think being there for your dog throughout its lifetime is what will stop dogs from being in shelters.
Yeah.
And I think, and to be a responsible dog owner really means, considering everything that might happen to a dog and doing all the research you can, including what having a dog entails before welcoming that puppy home. So I think with regards to adoption, I think we really respect the work of adoption agencies and all the effort that they put into rehoming a puppy. It's not easy, the training that you have to put in, and also multiple temperament conditions that you're dealing with, and on top of that, finding the perfect home for it, right? So I think on the topic of adoption for us, it's always adopt or shop responsibly. The more dogs that we can keep in homes instead of adoption
On the streets
on
and-
the
yeah.
streets and in adoption kennels, really it's a win for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
What happens to the dogs that are given up? I mean, these dogs who, we're talking about people who get their dogs from you,
Yeah.
for example, and somewhere along the way they feel like
Decide,
they can't keep their dogs.
Yeah, so every single breeder we work with do actually have their own puppy contract, if you may.
Okay.
And in fact, one of the most frequent questions that I get when I speak to breeders personally, first few questions is, well, you are seas away, right? What would you do if this owner needs support or, unfortunately to rehome the dog? And for us, what we intend to do is really build up a community, so much so that every single owner will come to us first, and we will be able to help them using our community to rehome this dog and put the dog in a suitable home. So basically saying that we will always be the first point of contact for any owner in case they do need to, unfortunately, rehome
Change
a
their
dog.
mind or
yeah.
Okay.
Let's go back on air.
I like the way you kiss me. I like the way you...
Kiss 92 traffic.
Okay, if you're on the ECP heading into the city, look out for a broken down vehicle before Still Road South's exit, avoid lane 3. Also on the PIE towards Tuas before Upper Jurong Road, another vehicle has broken down there. And finally on the ECP once again into the city after the PIE Tuas exit, an obstacle has been spotted. If there's anything else, you can let us know. 8855
Welcome back to The Big Show and The Big Show TV. Our guest for this morning is Megan Tan, founder and CEO at PupUp. Once again, welcome, Megan, and thank you so much for coming in this early.
Thank you for having me.
Good morning, Megan. And today we're talking about PupUp, which is PUPUP. So that's like Puppy Up. This is where you can find them on Instagram, PupUp HQ. But you also have an app right now available for Apple phone users, right?
Yeah,
You're
that's
coming
right.
to Android soon because I'm an Android user.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're rolling out an Android
Okay.
app really soon. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about the app. Like, who is this for and why should we be downloading it?
Yeah, I think really the decision to launch with a mobile app is not only for convenience, but also to provide Singaporeans with the choice to bring home a puppy from an ethical breeder. On the app, you not only get to browse by breeds, breeders, and litters, but you also get to find all the information you need before you welcome a dog home. And
Okay.
that's really related to breed-specific health testing, temperament, grooming, and care. And these are all breed-specific requirements that owners should be aware of before you bring a dog home. So yeah, like with the golden retriever, there is a list of 10 health tests, right, that breeders have to do. And also it means that as owners, these are conditions that you have to be aware of before you bring home a golden retriever. Yeah, so I think choice is really what we've placed in the hands of a pet parent that is looking to welcome a puppy home.
Yeah, okay.
I hope owners of pet shops here in Singapore are tuned in right now.
Yeah, same.
Because Megan, so if these pet shop owners want to be more ethical, what do they need to do?
Yeah, I think, I can't even say that's a great question. It's a hard question. I think really, a lot of people ask us, are you trying to eradicate pet shops in Singapore? And I think for us, the stance really is no, because if they can find a way to provide value, right? And I think consumers will still go to them, perhaps to be able to meet puppies in real life before, bringing one home. But I think the ethical part of selling a puppy is really hard to do at the point of sale because that is where your profit starts and ends. And I don't know if they can be incentivized to provide support throughout a dog's life, very comparatively to a breeder that is extremely invested in your dog's life throughout its whole journey.
I think it's ultimately about finding those breeders that are unethically breeding, before they actually come to the pet shop, because the pet shop is going to sell what the pet shop's going to sell.
Yeah.
And
if you can't keep your pet, you're probably going to look for someone to give that
Exactly.
pet to offload your pet. And if only you could go back to the same person you bought the puppy from, who would then help you out. And this is what we're talking about. The ethical breeders, right? Like in Australia and where else?
New Zealand.
And New Zealand.
Yeah.
You can always contact them.
Because I think anyone walking into a pet shop really wants to know they're getting the best of the best. Yeah. And that's what us as consumers go in, right? We don't want to later realize, oh my gosh, we got a lemon, of a dog or a cat or whatever it is. We trust the pet shops to be selling us the best, and they don't.
Right. Okay, let's continue to talk to Megan on the Big Show TV. It's 8:23.
Kiss 92 Time Check by Pu Tian, our seasonal Dorto clams imported live.
Now, what kind of breeds, can people find through the PupUp platform?
Yeah, we currently have 16 breeds on our platform, from golden retrievers to mini dachshunds to Australian shepherds.
Jack Russell Terriers?
No, not yet. But really, and also on the same vein, it's because it's incredibly extensive for any breed for us to introduce to the platform. We not only have to do research about what this breed goes through, and again with the Goldies, I'm not against them, but we have 10 tests we have to look at. We have to look at, do we need to include this or this? Why there's not that? And again, it's always, in fact, it really takes a lot of time going through and also talking to a lot of breeders about the decades of experience, going like, okay, what about the hips? What about the eyes? And then what about the heart? Right? So yeah, with the breed question, we're not really limited by breed or region even of the breeders, but more so by quality. Right? All our breeders go through very extensive verification processes. So we not only meet them in real life when I can, but also the most rigorous part about our verification process would be the documentation verification. So even before a breeder is onboarded onto PupUp, we actually look at every single piece of health testing that they claim to do. Because again, saying it and actually doing it, there can be a gap, right? Yeah, so we do actually look at every health test that they claim to do before we bring them on the platform. So with breeders, we're always looking to onboard more great breeders on our platform, as long as they meet our verification standards.
So speaking of which, what exactly is ethical breeding? Walk us through what's counted as right, and we know everything that's wrong with it.
Yeah,
but what is correct?
Yeah, again, I think why this is such a huge issue and very, very systemic at the most bottom level is because this is ethics. Who defines what is ethical, right? There will always be a gray zone where perhaps you think this breeder is ethical, but I don't. But then above all that's been said, when we compare our breeding conditions and licensing to countries like Australia and New Zealand, for example, so Dogs Australia and Dogs New Zealand, they have a breeder handbook to follow. And in that, you have very extensive health testing that demarcates that a breeder has to meet before they can be a registered breeder. So even with that in itself, you can be sure that at least there's a list of health testing that is breed related, perhaps the eyes and the heart, like cardiac conditions, that breeders are already doing before they are even registered.
But it's also about how they treat the dogs, right?
Yeah,
or
no,
the animals.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with care conditions, we see a lot of our breeders, majority, I would say, at least 95% of our breeders showing their dogs. So they go to dog shows very frequently, and they are always participating and ensuring that their dogs are still adhering to championship standards.
Yeah.
And I think, it's not just a fashion show for dogs. It really is that difference we see in ethical breeders that are truly passionate about a breed and bettering that breed.
Okay.
I feel like Singaporean pet owners are just pretty unsophisticated.
I think
And,
uneducated. I think they're not aware
I think
of all the things.
unsophisticated is better than uneducated. I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it sounds better. But they don't care about their dogs. They
No.
don't take their dogs for regular checkups and
No,
all that.
yeah. I agree.
I wonder how many of them send their dogs to the vet like at least once a year for a checkup to
Yeah.
get their booster shots and stuff. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
I take all my dogs to
Tofu's due his
for their
in
yearly
July.
checkup.
Yeah, for
you
the
know.
shot. Yeah.
But not many people do that.
Yeah, I think we're actually seeing a trend shift. So, of course, with like Gen Z and millennials, coming into dog ownership age and, perhaps considering a dog instead of a child, we are seeing. What was that? You?
What? No, yeah. No, I was just laughing at what you said about.
She
choosing a
always
dog
sometimes she
over a
laughs at the
child.
wrong time. Yeah, I get confused sometimes.
But yeah, we're seeing a trend shift in, more. I would say like preventative healthcare and owners that are more the humanization of pets, if you may. They see them as their fur kid, fur baby, and that they're pet parents, which I think, I'm all for it because these are really like family members. And on top of the surface, I think that in uneducation or unsophistication, if you may, like perhaps for someone like myself when I waltzed into a pet shop and brought my dog home, is really the lack of education in Singapore right now. In fact, like I don't know how often you've seen someone, or a government body or an agency post about what you need to know before bringing a dachshund home or what you need to know before bringing a Jack Russell Terrier home. Like, I'm not sure if you knew, right? So I think that lack of education is again something that we're choosing to take head on. Although, a lot of people might say, oh, you don't have to, but I think it really is at the root of responsible pet ownership. Because maybe like if you had known a Jack Russell Terrier can be quite crazy, high energy.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm shouting at them all the
Yeah.
time. I've had only Jack Russell Terriers my entire life.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. But maybe if I had knew that, I would not bring one home, right?
Yeah.
So I think that lifestyle suitability is something that is very, very important.
And it's not the responsibility of the pet store to be telling you what the animal is like. It's for you, the owner itself, to kind of do that research, right?
Well, I'd argue that it probably should lie on them just because, like, this is, a product
Right.
to them
Yeah.
that they are, putting in a home forever, hopefully. But it's not in their best interest, if I may put it that way.
That's
Okay.
true. Yeah.
We'll go back on air for a traffic update.
Kiss 92 traffic.
Still the same situations on the ECP heading into the city before the Still Road South exit. Avoid lane 3. A vehicle has broken down. Also on the PIE towards Tuas before Upper Jurong Road, another vehicle has broken down. If you're headed up towards Malaysia, it's a 70-minute wait at the Woodlands Causeway and just a 50-minute wait at the Tuas Causeway. So plan your journey right and stay safe.
Welcome back to The Big Show and The Big Show TV. We've got Megan from PupUp. She is, of course, the CEO and founder. We've got a WhatsApp message from Georgia who says, I have a golden retriever that I bought from a Singapore breeder, and he has bad hips.
Oh, so sorry to hear.
Yeah, hips are actually a big one in Singapore, unfortunately. So hip testing, if for listeners that might not know what it entails, hip testing requires putting the dog under anesthesia. birth. So you do have to put dogs under anesthesia to go through hip testing. And it's not only, incredibly expensive, it can also be quite inconvenient for, owners and, breeders and dogs. So that is what hip testing entails. And then they get a score as to whether their hips are good, bad, and there are also different scoring systems. Yeah. So unfortunately, hips are a huge problem for Goldies.
So if someone were to order a puppy from PupUp, right? By the time the puppy comes to Singapore, how old will the puppy be?
They will be 3 months old and a little bit, like maybe 4 days.
Yeah, because
Okay.
they can't leave Australia before they're 12 weeks old.
But that's still younger
Than here?
than if you were to buy a puppy from a pet store. I
Right.
think it's got to be a minimum of 4 months or something.
No, same. 12
Same,
weeks.
12 weeks as
Yeah,
well.
12
And the good
weeks.
thing about Australia, and correct me if I'm wrong, New Zealand, they're both category A countries, right?
Yes, they are. So we actually have a dog arriving today, later
Ooh,
today. Yeah,
yay.
I know it's one of it's always the most exciting part of this. But yeah, she's arriving from New Zealand, so making that long journey here, and she will be with her family about 6 p.m.
What
today.
kind of dog?
She's a mini American Shepherd.
Oh my gosh,
No, which is
cute.
great. So the puppy comes to you, and then the
You
people
pick it
have
up?
ordered the puppy from PupUp will just go meet you.
No. So you stay at home and get ready all the important things,
Oh,
right?
wow.
We send the puppy to you. So
Oh wow!
nice.
Not like
Yeah.
Angel. She had to do everything on her own.
I went directly to the cargo complex and all that. But I wanted to say the good thing about New Zealand and Australia is that there is no quarantine time because they're category A countries.
Okay.
So your pup doesn't have to be 3 months in quarantine or 1 month like a lot of other countries.
Oh wow!
So I think Ireland as well is a country.
Ireland, UK,
The UK.
Australia, and New Zealand.
Australia, New Zealand. So if you're looking for ethical breeders, if you're not going through PupUp, but we recommend PupUp because
Right.
they've done all the work.
Yes, we recommend Megan and her team.
PupUp, yeah,
PupUp.
and category A is a great country to countries to choose.
Yeah, absolutely. And even, so although we do all the difficult and boring things like paperwork and, the transportation logistics, we do still want to keep owners extremely involved in the process.
Right.
So throughout the weeks that they might be waiting for a puppy to come home, there is a very comprehensive checklist that they need to get ready for, to welcome a dog home, be it in terms of the home front or, getting products for their puppy.
Yeah, how exciting!
Yeah,
You're
man.
getting a new puppy. Oh my gosh, I remember the day I collected tofu. So exciting.
But all that
I know,
work you had to do.
No,
See,
but it
with
was
PupUp,
okay.
you don't have to do that work.
Stop it.
I'm
She's better than us.
yeah.
Better than us.
You're encouraging
rather
people.
go through
Yeah, of course.
PupUp.
I mean, theirs is a turnkey, right? They've done all the work
Yeah.
for them. If I had known of you guys before that, I would have gone through you. Nonetheless, I did enjoy the process.
No, yeah, absolutely. I think it's extremely rewarding for pet parents to go through this. Even honestly, even on PupUp, we recognize that there is a little bit of a foregoing the instant gratification of walking into a pet shop,
Yeah.
right, and cuddling that little puppy home, and we recognize that. But I think whilst you're giving that up, you're getting so much more in return.
The excitement and anxiousness.
that build up,
Yeah.
and the confidence that you're really bringing home a puppy that everything has been done to make sure that they're the healthiest they can be.
Oh, amazing.
Right.
Amazing. Really
okay.
nice. Okay.
So everyone, make sure you download the PupUp app. Okay, it's especially if you're on Apple right
yep.
now. Okay, and thank you very much, Megan, for joining us today.
Thank
It's
you so
been
much for having
such
me.
a pleasure speaking to you. And yes, if I'm going to get a pup, I'm going through you.
PupUp HQ on Instagram.